I can't do it anymore. I can't be a supporter like I was back in the 60s of an aggressive U.S. position in the Middle East. And I think the reason I was back in the 60s was because I was just not educated to the realities of the Middle East. Somebody told me back then that to believe nothing that came out of the Middle East, because so much of it was desert. And in the desert, you see things that are not there. You hear things that don't exist. But every year when the United States issues its report on human rights and who the bad guys are around the planet, I just want to throw up blood. Because I think about the policies that we have perpetrated against so many people in so many countries. And I honestly believe at this point the two biggest violators of what we call human rights, the two biggest violators are the United States and Israel. And we are creating, have created, over 3/4 of a century, an endless supply of people who look at us, who look at our founding documents and look at our foreign policy and wind up realizing they're dealing with a hypocritical, out of control, nuclear armed country that could smash them into blood and bone at the drop of a hat. Us. The United States. That's an awful thing to realize. To realize that the biggest perpetrator of violence and terrorism on this planet over the past half century has been us. I don't care how you try to weasel out of it, Truth Seeker, and you right-wingers who surreptitiously listen to this program and sit there and cluck and go, that goddamn Malloy is one sick puppy. Face it. Learn the history of what we've done since the end of World War II. And you can go back further. You can go back through the entire 20th century. The so-called American century. But just look at what has transpired in our lifetimes, most of us, some of us. Look at what we have done in Central America, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, in the stands, the countries bordering the old Soviet Union, now Russia and Siberia. Just, I mean, look at it. Read. I have, I've gotten this thing out before and waved it at you. But I have something here, a brief history of U.S. interventions, 1945 to the present. It was written by William Blum, and it appeared in Z magazine in June of 1999. So this is, 15 years old, or no, 16 years old now. But the list of U.S. interventions around the world is staggering, staggering. This is 20 pages. And, you know, when you hear somebody make the statement, the U.S., the United States, is the biggest perpetrator of violence and terror in the history of the human species, you know, you sit back and go, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Well, you can start with the 2 nukes that were dropped in Japan. That's a starting point. Or if you want to go back to the so-called Spanish-American War, you can go back to the slaughters and the genocide we committed in the Philippines. I mean, how far back do you want to go? So what to do? I've said before, and I think other people a lot smarter than I have said the same thing. What we need in this country is a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where we grant amnesty and forgiveness. I don't mean this religious crap. I mean political forgiveness to people who will step forward, like Robert McNamara did before he died, and admitted to and claimed the atrocities he was responsible for in Vietnam. But a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where people would have a chance, not just the perps, but historians who know the facts, to appear before a commission that would be broadcast on every television outlet in the United States, every internet outlet in the United States, for the world to see, but more importantly for Americans to see, exactly what our history has been just for the past 75 years. That's all. Start at the end of World War II. I don't know what would be gained by that, but it might at least give Americans, finally, the truth. Does the truth set you free? I don't know. I don't know that the truth sets a person free. I really don't. The truth is just the truth. I guess the truth drives some people to insanity or makes other people jump off tall buildings. I don't know. But the truth is the truth. And I think it should be stated, U.S. interventionist policy over the past three-quarters of a century has been atrocious. There is no way to even calculate the number of dead. Not just the ones that we bombed and blew up and killed, but I'm talking about the fascist governments that we supported and the armaments and the weaponry that we provided. So the dictators and right-wing dictators and right-wing fascist governments could slaughter their people at will. Everybody in the Western Hemisphere except Americans knew what the School of the Americas was. And it took a bunch of Catholic priests and nuns to bring it to the attention of the American public. It was a school, and it's still operating, devoted to training terrorists. And we talk about other countries.